Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and others who shall remain nameless. You know who you are. And it is a very good morning. And yes, there is even some sunshine up there. Yes, absolutely. Good morning. Yeah, so today we're talking about poverty. Poverty. And how poverty is unfortunately perceived and misperceived by conservatives and, yes, by liberals as a genteel rural condition where the poor have access to land where they can cultivate food and rivers where they can fish and a forest and a shotgun so they can bring in game and necessary skills in order to make their own clothing, because it's just like it was in the 1850s, which incidentally is the time that most conservatives want to take us back to, unfortunately. Yeah. Well, poverty is no longer rural and no longer genteel. Poverty is urban and brutal. Yeah. All too often I see people online and in the press commenting that poor people should just hunt for their food and fish for their food and grow their own food and gather their own food. That they should just go into the woods and cut more firewood. Yes, as though these were things that were possible for people living in crowded, sprawling cities to do. Because some people think of poverty as rural, which, again, it's not. It is, again, urban. Poverty is urban now and has been for quite some time. Poverty is urban. Poverty takes place in crowded, towering, sprawling cities where there is no wild game and where there are no wild foods available. All food has to come from a grocery store. And it takes place in a climate where you do not live in a small house in the woods, but in a high-rise apartment building or an apartment in a house. And you probably have a landlord who doesn't really give a shit about making sure you even have a decent kitchen with which to prepare food at all. So those old standbys of doing your own canning and pickling, they're not available to people living in modern poverty. They're just not. I mean, we're dealing with people who are third and fourth generation microwave users. Many of these people have never seen a stove, let alone operated one. And none of them own a stock pot, or indeed even so much as a frying pan. They own plastic cutlery and plastic utensils, and if they're very lucky, they'll own their own microwave. If not, they have to rent a microwave from their landlord. Either way, everything they cook comes out of a microwave. And yes, microwave-ready food is ridiculously expensive, ridiculously overprocessed and overpackaged, and has ridiculously poor nutritional value. Indeed, most of the food that is available to the poorest of the poor is of very low nutritional value. It is garbage. It is not fit for eating, and it is what the poor people subsist on. The poorest of the poor. I know this because I've been one of them. And no, being poor is not a genteel condition. And yes, I know this because I've been poor. I've been part of the urban poor, and it sucks. And it is a world full of many traps designed specifically to keep the urban poor poor. Yeah. So, anywho, yes. As I've said before, poverty is not a genteel rural condition. It is urban, it is brutal, it is cruel, and it is dirty. And I have lived through it. I have been poor. I have been impoverished, and I have struggled with the basics. So, yes, I know something about it. I have been homeless, and it is very hard to escape from homelessness. And I was homeless when it was much easier to escape. It's become harder since then. And now I've gained so much because I've been helped along the way by people, but that kind of help is not always available. Not everybody gets the help that I've been given. So, yeah, a lot of people living in poverty, living with homelessness, living at the very bottom of the socioeconomic pyramid, a lot of people have no hope of escape. And even for those who do have the good fortune to get into an apartment, a tenement, a room in a slum, conditions are still horrifically bad. How do I know? Because I've been there. I've been there. I've been through it. I've seen it with my own freaking eyes. So when somebody comes along and says, well, poor people just need to take the shotgun out into the woods and bag a deer, and that'll put some meat on the table. Really? Where are the woods? Where? In a crowded, towering asphalt hellscape is the woods. Seriously.